Good evening, good night, and welcome to Mindful Live 455. It is presently the 16th of the 1st, the 16th of January in the year of our Lord 2025. Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's the good? What's happening? How's life? It's a Thursday, and on a Thursday we talk. Not like we don't talk on the other nights anyway. But that's specifically what we do. If you have a question, if you have a comment, be sure to drop it inside of the chat. If you want to jump up and actually have a discussion, we can do that too. You can jump in over on TikTok. Unfortunately, there are no live discussions coming in from YouTube, but over on TikTok, feel free to jump in and join, and we'll have that discussion over there. Feel free. Make sure you hit that like button if you're viewing this on TikTok or on YouTube. Make sure you double tap that screen over there on TikTok. Keep going, get those numbers up. That's how you hit the like button. 2 taps on the screen, get it really flowing there. Wait, it's only 10 likes we are at on TikTok. Rookie kind of numbers. We've got to get those numbers up. And if you are looking at this over on YouTube also, be sure to hit that like button. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Share the video to people who might like this kind of stuff, who might like this content and appreciate it. Be sure to hit that share button, tell them, hey, taking this stuff, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I don't regularly say subscribe because I'm thinking, like, of course, if you're here taking it in, I believe you would be subscribed. So hopefully you're subscribed. If you're not, hit that subscribe button. Yes, it is Thursday. What's in the news? It is Thursday Talks, where specifically we're here talking about whatever is discussing. Okay, Stephen. But what's in the news? Ask away, Stephen. Somehow I am wary of such. Good night, positive radiation. Do I believe in aliens? As in, do I believe aliens exist? I honestly have no idea. No idea. Honestly, it's one of those things that I don't have a belief. I believe in God. Like, that's something that someone that requires a belief, but believe in aliens? No, I don't believe in aliens. I don't know if they exist or not. I've been seeing some stuff in the sky these past few nights. Well, maybe it's the aliens, but what's the aliens? What kind of craft are you talking about here? What are the aliens coming in? They travel all the way across the universe, and somehow they could only travel look like a little tiny drone or something. I don't know. If God could create us as humans, why can't he make other life? Sir, I am not saying he can't, I didn't say I know that aliens don't exist. That's literally what I said. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't have knowledge on the topic. And it's not a belief thing where I decide I believe in it, because it's not something I hold so dear in my formative ideology of life. Heard SpaceX blowing up over the Caribbean. Should baby showers be held for moms who got pregnant? Whoa! Positive radiation there with a heavy piece. with a heavy piece. Should baby showers be held for moms who got pregnant by another woman's husband? Good night, sweet Douglas. And I'm trying to answer. Carl Johnson says yes. they need the shower to wash away their sins. Like, I mean, on the should, like, should is a weird word. Should is a weird word because the baby shower is up really to who is spending the money on the baby shower. It's really about who is spending the money. And if people within the homewreckers within the homewreckers circle want to spend money on said homewreckers baby shower, then who are we to say who should or should not? My real question is, what's the purpose of the baby shower? Well, the baby shower is a community thing. You see, many times we lament that there isn't community, that there isn't that camaraderie in the surroundings and the people and stuff, but these are the things that were meant to build that kind of togetherness. The idea being that you get advice, help, money, resources, useful tools, useful tips right at the point where you really need it. That's why like the first baby is generally the main one for the baby shower. If you're popping out a baby per year, having a baby shower for each one starts to sound pretty tedious. But you know, it's about that togetherness of community. If it's to help the mother get ready for the child, cool. If it's to celebrate the mother, no. Well, I believe it would be a combination of both, generally speaking. Generally speaking, a baby is seen as a celebratory thing, so people celebrate that partially. Popping out his wife. But also it's to help the mother. It would be a combination of both, a celebration and help. But I mean, I think if you're in a kind of monkey pants situation like that, that may not be a baby that would be very public and celebrated either way. So I don't know. Whew. Heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. But it's a Thursday, people. Ask your questions, make your comments. That's what we do on a Thursday. On Children Are Children too. Fact. Very much so. I will not say anything otherwise. Nathan, what's your position on later pregnancies, like the mother's 35 plus years? What's my position? Good luck. my position is good luck. You know? Many blessings and a safe delivery to you, and may God look over your children and bless you in their upbringing and bless you in delivery. Hey, big man, bless up Michael Modesto, bless up, happy birthday. Another one upon them. Now, my position is also that I understand it's a lot more high risk. So if someone is asking about advice, I would advise, don't go looking to start making the babies 35 plus. That's just really not a well thought out idea. I mean, if your plan in your family planning is that the last child might squeeze in after 35, well, okay, you know, one after 35. In terms of planning, you could understand the sense in it. But to decide that as a choice. Stephen says, but in reality, 35 ain't all that old. It's according to what you mean by old. If you're talking by child rearing standards, then 35 is very old. Very old. It's just that we have pretended to forget those standards in the modern world to facilitate for the charade that all genders are perfectly equal and capable of losing themselves inside of the rat race and commercialism. That's why we lie about how old 35 really is, and 30 is the new 20. Why do you think they keep selling people this? 30 is the new 20, 40 is the new 20. No, 30 is 30, 40 is 40, and 20 is 20. They're telling you that because they want you to extend the time you're wasting. That time that when you're 24, 25, and you're like, well, I'm in my 20s, and they want you to still think like that when you're 34, 35, but no, it's not the same. Stephen says, with advances in technology and science, there's vitamins and medicines available for a strong term. We have not advanced past biology and reality quite yet. It's amazing, really. Death and the temporal nature of life is one of the things that we've been gunning against ever since, and we really haven't changed how long humans by and large live. Yeah, some of those with money rip out organs from poorer people and stuff it in themselves and drag their corpses till 105, but really and truly all the advances in technology hasn't made a big difference on human life like that. And all those advances in technology aren't going to rejuvenate your eggs. They aren't going to make your eggs any younger than they are. Those eggs have been sitting in your womb since you were born. That's how eggs in women work. That's just biology. There isn't a technology that undoes that. It's reality. And we really need to stop the mamagism and the lies. Like, I mean, you make your choices, but make your choices fully well knowing what is the reality out there. Stephen says, it's rumored that by 2045 humans are going to be able to live forever. Is that something you're in? No, I do not think it's even close to reality. Like, what would make you think that's even close to reality? Have you seen 90-year-old people of late? Are they looking like they are going to live forever? Are they looking it? Are billionaires still dying? Yes, they are. No. I don't think we're right on the cusp of solving mortality. Like, I mean, if a man was 350 years and he's telling me, well, I'm dying now, but in the next 10 years we'll solve it. Okay, I could believe you. But you can't tell me that on all of these people dying in their 80s. Nah. That's now, we haven't reached the tech yet. So how you know we're going to reach it if we haven't reached it yet? The singularity is real. Okay, that has nothing to do with that. We ain't even have flying cars, we go live forever. Are telling me this thing, Michael Modesto. This kind of gas up and chain up. Let me guess, you believe the earth flat too and hollow earth? Which one? Or the dome? Some one of those weird stuff. I don't think high risk over 35 applies to everyone. It's just categorized as a precaution. Well, here's the reality here, Umar. Yes and no. That's like saying, if you drink 5 beers and drive, you're more at risk. You could say that doesn't apply to everyone, and here's the reality. You're right. There are some people whose resistance to alcohol is very high, extremely high, while some people's are very low. That's just reality, and you're right. So there are some women, I believe there are women who have even up till their 50s made children. And there are some women after 40 making children and no complications even. While there are many women from the point they reach 29, complications and difficulties start. You ask mothers who had multiple babies, women who had babies, let's say they had a child at 25, at 29, at 34, and then at 36. Ask a woman like that. Women who had children spread out between their 20s and 30s. Ask them which ones were easier. Ask them. They often tell you. And the rule is one way. There are exceptions, but the rule is generally one way. What is your view on IVF? IVF is completely against the Bible. I know there are various types of IVF. I do not know all the various types of IVF to have a full view on it like that. I think if you're fertilizing baby after baby after baby and looking to hit and hope, that sounds like a macabre cruel process, and I do believe that when the male gamete reaches the female gamete and they fertilize, that's a brand new human being, by any metric, by any measure. And even if you are one to argue that that you could make some strange decisions with a human life when it's that fragile and less important, okay, that's an argument you could make. But I still think that we should consider it more than just a plaything, more than just a science experiment. Well, sweet Douglas, if is that your experience, you would be the exception. Because I've spoken to many a woman and that's not what they say. Is that your experience? Various topics, Lyndon Mac, we haven't really settled on any. It's Thursday we're talking. No real topic settled on right now. Good night, Chrissy89. How are you? What's up? The book say be fruitful and multiply within the natural realm, but test you, baby. Okay. Shazam, it's been good. I love it. I really do. Honestly, I love it. I would recommend it for everyone. All men. I would highly recommend this fatherhood business. Lovely stuff. Is birth control biblical? Like, sir, you need to ask your clergy. Because Orthodox clergy may say one thing, Roman Catholic clergy may say another, and Protestant clergy may say another. So as for the biblical nature of it, it is actually a debatable topic, something that is hotly debated. I think you can control birth and nothing is sinful about that. My view on it. My turn soon come. Yeah, man. Love it. Love it. It's good stuff. Like there are some who say, you never really grow up until you have a child. There are some who say that. I'm not necessarily saying that. But there are some who believe that you never really grew up until, yes, all mine was easy, but the last one the easiest. Well, then you are part of the exception because all of yours were easy at the end of the day. So it seems like you weren't one who had a particularly large amount of complications either way. And there are genetic aspects to it, obviously, genetic side state. I think it's Latina women, I believe, that racial group have the least incidence of complications, I think, in birth. I believe that's the statistic I read. I think black women are pretty high in it, but Latino women, they seem, these are American statistics, just by the way. I don't know for Trinidad and Tobago. So there may be racial components, ethnic components, genetic components in all of that. I don't doubt it. I'm married and birth control is a financial decision for us. We have 2 children and don't need more. I mean, the good book says, blessed is the man whose quiver is full. Is your quiver full at 2? Bro, this is not financial. This is not family advice. I'm joking. I'm good. I remember joining your lives when you just started. Glad to be back. Glad to have you here. No pay for none. And I took 15 minutes, lad. Well, sweet Douglas, at the end of the day, you must understand you are an anomaly. You are an anomaly. You are what many women would wish it to be. But there are women who would tell you about a whole day, 24 hours of labor, and then you still end up in the theater. And there are levels to this. There's obviously levels to this. Fortunate for you. You may have been cut from the cloth of those of the era gone before. Those women who blessed us with 14 and 15 uncles and aunts. those grandmothers, you may have been born too late. Yeah. You meant for that time where you hear granny walk down by the hospital, make the baby, and walk back up the road like. Well, I've heard that for sure, Uma. Wow, you see, Chrissy says it from Saturday 8 to Sunday 6:47 p.m. That is how there's no mothers do it. Like nobody else remember 6:47. Wow, what a unique time. 47. Like I might see somewhere around 7:15. Yes. You want to read this? You wanna come read? You're going to read your book? What's that?
I didn't know that. An apple. And what's that?
What's that?
A apple.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
What's that?
Ant.
Mm-hmm.
Ant working.
Mm-hmm. And what's that one? What's that she's drawing here?
She was doing the alligator.
Alligator. Very good. So you know all of your A words. Very good. Lad, 12 o'clock start and 12:15. I mean, miscarriages can affect intimacy after 2. Yes, Greasy. I mean, I guess yes, it can positive. TikTok is being banned in the US on Sunday. You think that will affect view and growth on the app for us? Nope, because TikTok kind of silos their audiences. You don't really get into the US market that easily, and TikTok isn't being banned in the US. You know, TikTok is doing that on purpose. TikTok is being forced to divest their Chinese investment, and they refuse to do that. Instead of just not allowing the Chinese government to own the company, or at least a stake in the company, they're purposing that they rather shut down the entire company. And I think they're doing that on purpose to aggravate the TikTok users, so that the users would pressure their government to not force TikTok to have to divest, because they didn't actually ban the company. The company isn't banned. So I'm gonna overturn that. I don't know if he's going to overturn it, and I'm not sure if it's even possible for him to overturn it. Because it wasn't an executive order like many of the presidents do. An executive order is something that an order that the executive makes. They write it and they put it out there. Now, the good thing with an executive order is it can happen very quickly and you can get things done very briskly. The bad thing is the next president can just undo it with his own executive order. But this wasn't an executive order. Congress, as in the people, the representatives of the people, Congress voted for that. It's a bill passed by their Congress. So I don't think he can undo it even if he wants to. And he is enjoying the newfound fame on TikTok, but I don't know if it's enough to make him that loyal to the company. I just don't buy it. Especially if what the Congress is proposing is just that an American company buys it out. And there are American financiers who are not that bad towards Trump who are willing to purchase it also. So I don't think he's going to fight for it to remain in China's hands. Appreciated Tian Graham Media. You all think Titi would join Meta? What do you mean by that? What do you mean if we would join Meta? As in, use the companies? Because Facebook and Instagram are already in TT. I don't fully understand what you mean by join Meta. TikTok. Oh, if TikTok would join Meta, no, I don't think so. I don't think it would make sense. If Meta buys TikTok, they would destroy it on purpose because TikTok is a direct competitor to Instagram. Why would they want that? I just want to know how to monetize my social media before I make somebody. Yeah, they have no reason to want to keep TikTok running. That's not a benefit towards Meta. It benefits Meta to destroy TikTok. If TikTok crashes, then the user base of Instagram may rise. But who knows? Maybe X might buy it. Or buy it in total. I'm not sure. I just don't see it as something that Meta would want to do, because TikTok in totality would be a very expensive company. A very expensive company, and it would be basically a direct competition to Instagram. So the only real reason for Meta to buy it is to just destroy it, and in terms of not wanting Instagram to have the competition. But appreciated, Chrissy. But other than that, I just don't see why they would want that. No one thought Meta would buy WhatsApp. Yes, actually, many people thought Meta would buy WhatsApp because it was a sensible buy for Meta. Meta had no direct competition to WhatsApp. It was widely growing. It was an internationally used company, just as Facebook was. So it wasn't an out of the ordinary buy for WhatsApp. These companies are not just randomly doing things vai on the twiddle of a thumb. You know, they're thinking about what they're doing. Yo, Darius, Meta can't buy it because it would infringe on anti-monopoly laws in the US. I'm not sure if that's so, but I heard Colombia wants to invade Venezuela to remove Super Bigot. I don't know. I don't know about that. Colombia invading Venezuela. That will be interesting. Unfortunate, but interesting. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything about that. Americans willingly giving their data to China right now. Yeah, I find that's ridiculous. Like, personally, I understand the TikTok ban, and if I was an American, I would fully agree with it. You are in a soft Cold War with China. China is having their version of this stuff, teaching astronomy and science and physics, and they're pumping your children full with rubbish. It's like, and then you're telling me about freedom. Are you going to, like, if you are warring with your neighbor, are you going to let your neighbor give your child juice every day to drink? You know, you have to worry at some point in time they may feed your child poison. Oh, I didn't know that, Mikhail. The American citizen view is the government's war is not my war. Well, I know that may be some people's view, but I don't even think that's the reasoning behind they not wanting TikTok. It's that TikTok is effective at what it did. China did a good job on the TikTok business. the United States banned RT. Anybody knows RT? RT was very pumping at one point in time. They were all about Russia Today. That RT in the green box, black RT in a little green square. They were all around the internet 2019 thereabouts. And getting bigger and bigger on all different platforms. The US banned them, nuked them out of orbit. Now all RT pages are a little small, little something in a corner somewhere. Did you see anybody protest and complain when they nuked RT about freedom and, well, the government war is not my wine, so leave the Russia? No, they didn't, because nobody cared, because they weren't using it. They weren't getting their little endorphin hit, their little serotonin hit off of it. But now, and TikTok does that. I'm a user of TikTok, but I'll tell you, TikTok does some strange stuff behind the curtain that nobody really knows and understands how. The virality, the nature of how things go viral and why, very difficult to ascertain on TikTok. But it's very easy to happen. You could start with 50 followers and get 50 million views tomorrow. That's a possibility. And that little sugar trail there is something that TikTok specializes in. And they have milked that to endear themselves to a certain generation. That generation is going to feel like you're killing them to undo it. Now, if the USA wants to ban everyone else, then they should at least make homegrown apps not suck. Homegrown apps like what? Which of their homegrown apps suck so much that TikTok is the only alternative? Dalip says there's a plane circling Barrackpore, Moruga, New Grant, something about SpaceX explosion. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I saw earlier on someone was saying something about SpaceX exploding in Trinidad, but I don't know anything. I didn't see anything on that. It was kind of crazy. Thankfully, no one got hurt. Wow. I didn't see that. Debris from SpaceX's Starship Flight 7. Several flights over Caribbean Sea are holding due to falling debris from SpaceX's Starship. Several flights over the Atlantic near the Turks and Caicos Islands are being forced to hold or divert due to falling debris from SpaceX's Starship Flight 7, which broke apart in the atmosphere, the website Air Live reported Thursday night. All telemetry and communications with the spacecraft have been severed, with SpaceX's live stream confirming this is an anomaly. The statement, "We are assuming the ship has been lost," was made, signaling a major setback for the ambitious Starship program. The Starship was auto-destroyed by the flight termination system. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Any questions or comments on the inside? We're streaming live on TikTok and on YouTube. Let's see if anyone is seeing anything over there on the YouTubes. Good night, YouTube. Good night. Good night. No questions, no comments on the inside. Hey, Ronnie. What's up? What's up? What's the good? All right, let's see what was in the news. I see the police, the commissioner is still being begged to look at people's firearms licenses. The commissioner is still being begged to look at people's firearm licenses, and she seems to have no interest in such. Let's talk about the weird tension between Trinidad and Tobago. As a Tobagonian, I feel it. I went on Red Note. The video quality is ultra good. The Chinese app. I hear Red Note is dishing out the propaganda and attempting to sway the youth heavy. I haven't seen it yet. I feel I'll have to take in that Red Note. I'll have to go down on that Red Note rabbit hole. The tension between Trinidad and Tobago. To be very honest with you, T and Graham, I think that is more one-sided. I think it's more Tobago to Trinidad. I think Tobagonians have a negative assumption of what they believe Trinidadians view them as, more than Trinidadians actually have that view. And then their assumption about how Trinis view them, makes them view and treat Trinis in a certain way. Like, I find generally Trinis treat Tobagonians as Trinbagonians more than Tobagonians treat Trinis as part of their country with them. When Dr. Rowley... You want to comb your hair this hour? You probably need a little comb. When Dr. Rowley was going up for elections to lead a Trinidad party, because Tobago always calls PNM a Trinidad party. Theon, I'm trying to show you the evidence for why I'm saying what I'm saying. When Dr. Rowley was going up to lead a Trinidad party, Tobagonians called PNM a Trinidad party. Was there any undercurrent even in the PNM about not selecting him because of him being a Tobagonian? Was that even a suggestion? No. That's not something that you'd see. No. Dr. Rowley, being a Tobagonian, represented Diego Martin for decades. How well do you think it would go over if you send a Trini to represent Tobago? How well do you think that would go over? The problem, I think, Uma, is what you just said. Uma says to me Tobago is just another part of Trinidad and Tobago. I think the vast majority of Trinis see Tobago as penal or Toko, just somewhere far in our island. It's just a far place, while Tobago sees themselves as Tobagonians and them is Trinis. You see the difference? So the disunity is not both-sided. Like, I know quite a few Tobagonians that live Trinidad. I do not hear Tobagonians that live Trinidad complaining about Trinis treating them slight because of their Tobagonian heritage, or getting some kind of real negative off behavior because... No, you don't hear that. Nearly every Trini I hear that moved to Tobago and lived for any kind of considerable time says the Tobagonians don't like us. Nearly any Trini I know that moved across to Tobago for any period of time says that. Do you know, Theon, any Tobagonian that says when they live in Trinidad, the Trinidadians treat them differently? Our Prime Minister is a Tobagonian. And I don't think that's anywhere even close to the reasons that people may dislike him. As a Tobagonian who has lived in Trinidad for 7 years, I've been treated horribly, as well as others. Okay. Because of your Tobagonian heritage, as in Trinis treating you biasly because you're Tobagonian? If you don't mind me asking, can you give me an example of that? Like in what way? They often think of us as less intelligent or general colorism, racism. Okay, well, colorism and racism isn't a Tobagonian thing. It's a Caribbean thing. Like, they insult Dr. Rowley about bobby head and black and all of that kind of stuff. But that's not because he's black from Tobago. It's because he's black in general. You've been insulted for the Tobago accent. Okay. I mean, I can't deny it if you tell me that's the truth. If you tell me that's the truth, I can't deny that. It's just, I do not see those things. But as you said, maybe it's because I am Trinidadian, I can't see it from that other perspective. The Tobagonians I know, that's not a regular complaint I hear. I moved with Tobagonians while in UE. That's not something I heard. Yes, they call Rowley Oreo. None of the insults towards Dr. Rowley have anything to do with his Tobago heritage. None. Like, if that was a typical insult in the Trinbagonian language franca, then it would have been one of the insults thrown at Rowley. Why is then there's no Dr. Rowley insult to do with his Tobagonian heritage? It's not a you problem, so it's not a problem. I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. Because I'm asking. I don't know. And I would like to see it. Because to me, it's very obvious in the other direction. And people who live and frequent both islands, they tell you this. You are one of the few Tobagonians I have seen that say otherwise. And even as I ask you for examples, your examples are general racism and colorism. That's not to do with Tobagonian. That's to do with the colonial heritage of the Caribbean and colorism. That's a Caribbean-wide thing, even among Indians. So, like, the colorism, racism isn't a Tobago thing. I'm asking for an example, like, explain to me how the Trinis treat you differently, badly, because you were from Tobago. Like, I just explained to you how Tobagonians do it to Trinis very regularly. I don't doubt, it's so common, I don't doubt that a Trini could probably record evidence of that by tomorrow if they wanted to. Go down on the port in Tobago, listen to some of the port workers when they're vexed, and they always say it. So, if I could go record the evidence by tomorrow, can you do that? Well, you could jump in and we'd have the discussion. It's no problem. Can you show me the evidence of that? I don't think so. Like, that's what I said. I believe more Tobagonians think Trinis think they're dumb more than Trinis think they're dumb. My general assumption on Tobago academics is they see much more in that overperformance push heavily down the academic train. I don't see Tobagonians as less. You see it in their scholars. Tobago has a lot of PhDs for a little island. They push heavy on that scholastic avenue. So I don't buy that. I don't see that. As I said, I think Tobagonians believe that. They watch and think Trinis think they dumb. But that's not actually what bears out in reality. At least to my view. So if you can, some examples of like how has that shown its
probably should not do this to my business account.
Oh gosh, is it for real?
Regardless, like so, okay, the academic way is more. There are many little. I wouldn't even call them microaggressions, but there are many differences between the Trinidadian lifestyle and the Tobagonian lifestyle. First of all, we're culturally different, but the opportunities and things that are afforded to Tobagonians is often much less than the average Trini would have, and I'll tell you why. Stick with me. I went to UE, and even doing my sixth form and these things. When I look at open campus for UE in Trinidad and open campus for UE in Tobago, what was offered in Trinidad was like pre-law, pre-science, pre-med, that kind of a thing. In Tobago, cake decorating, nail polish, that kind of a thing. Often we're told Tobago isn't big enough to have a university, or even simple as we have to go to Trinidad to do school, or even if we live in Tobago but then have to go to Trinidad to get, there are no allowances made for us because we have to come from so far. That's one thing. The first thing somebody told me when I came to class was, well, they have movie town yet, or if it's still movie village. Like, it's just the dumb stuff. Trini's Picong, I guess, is one of the things, is very irritating. And then there's the whole racism part thing that is also a part to play in it. But when I see Tobagonians' reactions to Trinidadian, and then Trinidadians be like, Tobagonians just don't like we. Like, you think? Why would that be?
Here's the thing. And you're saying it there, and because just as you said from my side, because like the fish isn't aware of the water they were swimming in, you're saying it there, and you're saying it clearly. You see Tobago as a separate entity from Trinidad. So I live in Cuba North. I will not lament that in Cuba North we have only XYZ, while St. Augustine has a university. Like, the amenities that are in Trinidad are for Trinbagonians. So it's not that Trinidad has pre-law and pre-med and Tobago only offers cake decorating. No, if you go to UE, if you go to YTEP course in a school in the back of Pinal, they may be only offering cake decoration and makeup too, because that's to the target audience out there. While if you go more to the built up urban areas in Trinidad and Tobago, if you view it as one entity, you'd understand that it's just a centralized entity, and Tobago is further away from the centralization of the entity. That's all. So that movie village, just now, that movie village comment you get. Listen, we used to, in UE, I went to UE too, all of those South people who had to stay up on campus, and then on Friday they make the trek down behind God back. Listen, the amount of different ways of saying behind God back we had to talk about with the people from Deep South. It's just the way the Picong goes. But if you are very conscious about it, when somebody tells you that you have to go and travel to go behind God back, you have to go and get a flight to go home just now or something like that. If you are self-conscious, you would think that it's a personal attack versus just regular to and fro Picong. I would say in your examples there, I still haven't seen or heard one way where this is clearly an anti-Tobago bias. I can give you examples of anti-Trini bias. And here's the thing. The assumptions on the anti-Tobago bias causes real anti-Trini bias, because you said some of those things seemed anti-Tobago, and from that you said we feel Tobagonians don't like us. You think so? You're basically admitting that you know there's a common sentiment among Tobagonians against Trinis, but because you all assume that Trinis hate Tobagonians or look down on them, you think you look down on them, because you assume Trinis look down on Tobagonians, you think the dislike towards the Trinis is fair, which is not a reality to me.
I never said it was fair. I just say that I understand it. And the reason I understand it, for example, any little thing that happens in Tobago, and you're hearing political conversations, because you were talking about politics earlier. Something going with Shamfaka Joe, some cell phone business. The first thing I hear, what, take back that boat from them. They didn't contribute nothing to the society. I'm just like, but how are we in it? You know what I mean?
You know,
I
understand what you're saying, but as I said, you're right. It's because you're in it. You'll hear that more. With that phone, I am sure women would have heard the what misogynist comments made with that phone. Because to me, the insults I heard to Miss Kojo, Mrs. She's married now. The insults I heard were directed more at her gender and her weight, not at her Tobagonianness. With that, all the time I hear insults about their Tobagonian representative. It's almost always to do with more gender related and her weight. You don't really hear, like, but I guess you would hear any, if you scroll through the comments under her post or under an article, you would see the guy who says something out of timing about Tobago and say, look. But that's actually very rare. That's not the common thought process. I am telling you, as Trinis, in discussing Tobago, that's not the common thing. What would be common is country. Yes. The same way, the same kind of country insults that a Trini would throw at somebody living in Toko. If you live in Toko, you are real talk to take. It's just Trini.
I mean, I guess, but now that you are more aware of it, I'm pretty sure that when you read it in the comment sections, you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, that wasn't nice. That you'll pick up on it now that I don't see it because I'm seeing it, you know what I mean? But now that you're aware of it, you'll be like, okay, they kind of going hard on them to be with them. So.
You're right. It's like because I am a black man, I could see on some UNC posts that, hey, this has a strong racial innuendo. And you read in the comments and you're like, hey, there are lots of comments going in a certain direction here. You have to be able to be balanced in the conclusion you draw from that. Because that may not be a representative sampling. I remember one of the early videos, response videos I did was a Trini comedian did a joke. I can't even remember the joke, but the joke had something,
because it angered me.
Something to do with Tobago and Duns or some kind of thing like that.
Oh yeah. Tobago face this and all of that. It was a whole long.
He blew up the whole dance for a couple weeks back then. And in that, when he did that, I knew that was going to go over badly. Maybe he didn't. I knew it was, because I knew Tobagonians, and Tobagonians have told me that same thing before. So if I'm going to make a joke about Tobagonians, I'm not going to joke on intelligence, because I know that's something that's a sore topic between the islands. But it could just be really a joke. I don't think that people really look at Tobagonians as the dunces of them all.
If the shoe was on the other foot, right? If the shoe was on the other foot, and Tobagonians we were the larger island, and we were making these jokes, consistent, incessant jokes about Trinis this kind of way. With the Trini blood all they have running through their veins. The Trini, specific Trini. How would they feel like I take that? But it was not taking that.
Good night.
Go ahead, Ronnie. As a Trinbago, you are true Trinbagonian.
Yes, I am. I was born in Tobago, grew up in Trinidad, lived Tobago.
I was born in Trinidad, grew up in Tobago, so yeah, I'm here with you.
Right, nice. So you Trinbagonians in here. And let me tell you something. The kind of banter this guy here as a Trini, it's very nasty for the most part. So I do understand when you're saying that it could be one-sided sometimes, but I have often experienced it on the other side. What do you ask? Sorry, oh my God. I am so sorry. That's not coming. Yeah. I have experienced it on the one side where it's like, listen, Tobagonians just complain about a few things. I literally have to go into the office where they always like, Trinidad, you're going down in the wild west, and he was making these comments, right? I think it would make me feel being the minority in my office.
You sound like you hear that one before.
Yeah, because he probably says it.
I find that laugh song guilty.
That doesn't make me feel that type of way, but I don't complain. I just understand how it is. I understand
Wild West is crazy, dog.
Yeah, but that's just a part of the culture. It literally is. Peacock is it. But you see, Tobagonians can't take their peacock. They would like to give. But
here's the thing, Ronnie, as you see that, and you see that Wild West. Imagine if you live in Lavente. You feel Tobagonians have more talk to take than somebody live in Lavente? Or Beetham? You could imagine going to school and your address is Beetham. Because, as adults is try to, hedge and be a little kind. Children ruthless. Children will tell you about your dead mother and that kind of thing. Children brutal. You could imagine going to school with an address Beetham? You think
I never thought about it.
You think any Tobagonian will get more talk than a Beetham resident? Your community, Beetham is Beetham Gardens. But when people say Beetham, they mean the dumpling. They're going to find the million most creative ways to tell you about the dump. And here's the thing. There is that kind of sensitivity out there. Some of it has died down a bit. But I don't know if you remember the Cowpen statement from Dr. Williams that people to this day still drag out every now and again and say the PNM say we was mining with terrain in Cowpen. While the idea of the statement Dr. Williams said was that
oh gosh, I know you can see me, but I open my eye real big. Mining what in where?
The children in a Cowpen. Dr. Williams back in the day was saying that the South in Trinidad, and bear in mind there's that racial divide also, more Indians in South than in the East-West corridor. In South, there weren't proper schools, and they will educate the children who go into school in Cowpens, he said. Now, the opposition took that as an insult. Like he is saying they are so low, their children, they're schooling their children in Cowpens. While the statement was supposed to be a statement of how neglected that part of the country is and how we are going to have an effort to make it better. There are those sensitivities. And now, because of that, somebody says something like that, and what do you mean by that? I remember, who was it? Fitz Was it Fitz who had said all of them from the same murky lagoon? Murky lagoon, 2 words. But lagoons are where you grow rice. And we ancestors grow the rice in the lagoon all the time. So when you talk about that, you really is a racist insult to me. If you're willing to... Now, Calcutta Ship, I'll put that a little different. Because I think Calcutta Ship was read the way it was written. Like the Murky Lagoon, I don't think Heinz, I ain't a big Heinz fan, but I don't think he meant it in that racial connotation that they said it, because he wasn't even referring to all people of the same race. The Calcutta Ship one was fully meant, I think, in how it was taken. And I think
and also Mrs. Prasad Bissessa and her blank man statement.
Yeah, yes.
That was that.
Yeah, and the only dancey children are the PNM ones. Yes. But the reason that Calcutta statement could have been made is because the man understood the cliquishness of Tobago. He was attempting to prey on the cliquishness of Tobago. They are bringing their Calcutta ship from Trinidad to come across to Tobago.
I will tell you, in Tobago, and I was here while that was going on, Tobagonians listened to that and we was like, okay, no, that's insane. That's a kind of a crazy statement. You were depending on Tobagonians to be like, yeah, Tobagonians was just as confused. We was like, why this had to reach here?
Yeah, that's a fact, sweet Douglas. Down here was the hole. And for me, my pops was from another area. Same community here. Down on this side was the hole. That side was more uptown. And he would say back in the days, you ain't want to mix, you know. You ain't want to deal with nobody from down in the hole. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. There are those realities. But I think and some of that is just the reality of melding different cultures and different peoples. But you have to try not to take it to the personal level. And I do not believe it's personal, as in, I do not believe Trinidad in general has that view. The unfortunate thing is...
It is not personal and it is not intended, but from the perspective of a Tobagonian, I will just say that the reason is not just that Tobagonians take on things because we soft. The reason that Tobagonians take things more personally is because a lot of things are personal to us in terms of we see
you have to live it. It's not
how much more difficult we have to fight for simple things. Like, I can't wake up in my bed in Tunapuna and just stroll over to school. That don't happen for me. There's a flight, there's an overnight, there's rent that I had to pay for 4 months for me to go to school long in Trinidad. You understand?
Yeah.
And on top of that, sometimes, as I have experienced in the science field, people other you based on your skin tone and stuff, which was completely new to me. A whole new culture shock when I went to Trinidad. So they will take things seriously.
You see, yeah,
a specialist. We don't even have a penny. Why is a price, man? These things don't exist in Tobago. So when you say things that make us seem primitive or uneducated, Tobagonians take that as a personal attack. And sometimes Trinis, even in joke, would even come to Tobago and have that same kiki attitude, and Tobagonians just roll their eyes and be like, oh God, but so that's where that comes from.
I understand what you're saying. I understand who feels it, knows it, who lives it, would feel it more personally. I understand that totally. I like the point that you made there. That's an interesting point. And that might be a reality too, where Tobagonians have a more homogeneous culture. As in, you could grow up in a community in Tobago and you grow up around a set of dark-skinned Negro people, and that's all you know all your life, and there hasn't really been any inner colorism among your community. But that's not Trinidad. Trinidad, there are the various races, there are various mixes, there is the color scale, and who darker and who fairer, and the color politics, and those things go on, and then you mix in the Tobagonian inside of there, and it feels all a lot more confusing. Chrissy 89 says, born in Moruga, grew up in Barkport, can you imagine your skin thickens over time? Yup. Moruga, if you come to school from Moruga, back in the day, you are real talk to take. Oh, you mean you coming from Moruga? 10 Ponga Kali. You're not right. Uma, you're saying something?
Listen, I just Trinidad nature. You like to get people come talk and laugh about it. It's not nothing personal. Just like to get people talk when they get the opportunity to.
Uma, you're not from East Port of Spain somewhere there?
Yeah.
You didn't have no talk to take going to school? Like you got interrupted there. I don't think you could have been coming from anywhere in East Port of Spain and don't have some talk to take coming to school.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you're kind of savage when it comes to that, to be honest.
talk give and talk, and like how the thing does go, you know? It's impersonal. Talk like that's how. Anyway we go.
When I went to Trinidad, I was placed in a hierarchy, and I did not know that this hierarchy even existed.
I understand you.
When I started my specialization in my field in science, right, and I go into the lab and it have 60 people in this lab, and 3 of us are like the color of the back of my hand. You know what I mean? And 3 of us are that, and I would speak to the demonstrator and I'm asking, I don't understand this, can I get help with that? And they walk straight past you. That was new to me. So all these things was like, is it a Tobago thing? Is it a black thing? But I see it, I saw it, and I was made aware then of the different strata.
I always say,
Red Indians, it have regular Indians. What?
I always say I would love to write a Trinidad cultural anthropology book. Listen, going to school in Central is just about the best you could get with that. Because you get to see the inter-race dynamics and the intra-race dynamics. Like, yes, they are racists. There are people who think one race is better than the other. But there are people who are colorists. There are people who, if you are a red Afro man, you might rate higher than that dark Indo man in their book. And then you overlay all of this with money, because money plays a part. And then after money, it's the status side of it, which community you're from and how your home looks in that community. And you mix all of these things and you get some strange stuff coming out. And that's the nature of it. That's why I always say multicultural countries aren't easy to run. We aren't easy to run because
I don't know anything about the Tobago Students Association, sorry.
Yeah, because we there are so many conflicting interests, and you have to try to just balance all of them, and many times they don't want to balance. So it's the nature of the multicultural melting pot. The thing is, if you know how to enjoy it and how to ride the waves, it's very interesting. It's much more, what's the word they like to use? Enriching, because you get a much wider view of society and people and what people think of as normal, and you recognize this seems normal to this person and that other opposite thing seems normal to that person. You get some of those things, but there's the friction.
I mean, but I never really view people from Tobago as even from a different island. Like,
Neither me.
it's just part of Trinidad and Tobago. It's just our next part. I never really view like them. He's from our next place.
Uma, be honest, you ever pick on a Tobago, man?
You know, pick on a man. We give men
Like,
talk.
pick on.
Yeah, we give men talk on work. Like normal work, job site talk. Like that's how we just go.
Let me tell you the kind of pick-on I know. We say Tobago black. But Tobago black.
Yeah.
But here's what Tobago black isn't even a Tobago specific insult, because you could say, I went to the beach and I get a Tobago black. It's descriptive. Now, it could be seen as a negative description by some, but it's descriptive. Even that. Because, and the reason you say it is because if you go to Tobago, not that Tobagonians themselves are.
I side eye you because I'm like, define that Tobago black.
I'm going
Is it a
to.
darker black than
I am
black?
going to. I am going to. Let me tell you what. You go to the beach on a regular and you get a tan. That is tan. You go to Tobago for a week and come back. You get that. You get a Tobago black.
I hear Uma give pancake them.
You understand what I'm talking about? Because you get much more sun. You get much darker. It's not even about saying Tobagonians are blacker. It's
I think Tobagonians or people from Tobago need to understand this. It's how I know people right here born and grew up in Trinidad as adults and they have never even been to Tobago, not once. They've never been there. It just never happened. Couple years, as you talk about it, somebody asked me if Tobago have a movie town. Couple years ago, when I went to Tobago, after them thing built up, I didn't know it was there already, and I was like, what? It have a movie town in Tobago?
Yeah, I realize a lot of Trinidadians are ignorant as well. In the true sense of the word, that they just do not know. So when they come and they see like, I have friends who came to Tobago for the first time, it's like, oh, they have KFC here? Or they have like gas stations and buildings? Like, yeah, we do.
and you know something by Tian? And this is something I have against Tobagonians. Tobagonians think bad management only happens in Tobago. Tobago is better taken care of generally than Trinidad. I'm talking about the physical place, not the services and stuff. That clean road, grass cut, no garbage. Tobago is much better at that than Trinidad.
That
Way
has a lot
better.
to do with our cultural differences.
Okay.
I had a friend who came from Trinidad to Tobago, and we lime on the beach and we eat pizza and thing, and on the drive back, he threw the pizza box out of the window of the car. And I was like, dog, you're insane. Are you crazy? He's like, why see them get a work? What they get a work for? And I was like, what? What?
Like, throw it at friend too.
No, that was recent. That was recent. And this is not the only scenario I know of Trinis. I'm sorry to say it, but I just
But I wouldn't fight you there. It's obvious. You go to Tobago and you look with your eyes and you can see that. And I wouldn't deny that. It seems
Togolese don't behave in certain ways that I see Trinis behaving, and that could also contribute to the way that Tobagonians view Trinidadians.
fact.
We think generally that Trinidadians are a lot more entitled and obnoxious, whereas Tobagonians, we take care of each other and our environment.
Let me
Yeah.
ask this question. If Trinidadians, because I have never, other than the people talk and when the politics come up, I have never heard a Trinidadian say, well, I just don't like Tobagonians, them Tobagonians this and them Tobagonians that, right? Why would that be a normal perception in Tobago, a negative perception towards Trinidadians in that kind of way when we don't think along them lines generally. We don't think along them lines. Them things that's come up in Trinidad when involve politics. When the politics come into the fray. Outside of the political fray, nobody on the time with them thing.
Well, you see, for that same example that I brought up with the littering, and then generally that kind of a vibe. Tobagonians are very conservative, religious, church people mostly, quiet and in the corner, clean. Trinidadians are more party, hype, lime, hell beer bottle on the side of the road, and that's all we see because when they come to Tobago, they come in on that vibe. We don't see the Trinidadian that's studying hours and hours in the night to ace the exam. We don't see the Trinidadian that getting up early, 4 o'clock to head to Port of Spain to work. We see all the frass most of the time. So that is where that opinion of Trinidadians come from.
Yeah, I could see it. And if
Island crashes.
if I was a Tobagonian, I'd have say Trinidadians real nasty too. Got you, little sucker. I'd have say Trinidadians real nasty too because it seems like it's only Trinidadians litter in Tobago. You could kind of go through our area and you tell when Trinis pass through, like, oh jeez, boy, you're nasty.
When they turn like the fat pussy, when the fat pussy pass through, the fat pussy dropping everything everywhere. And Carnival, they dropping everything everywhere.
Yep.
But it's a good point that you make, though, that is not you call them the fat pussy. That's not all Trinis.
Listen, alright. It's how the people who might let us say, like, I don't know who doesn't really let us till in 2024. Anyway. Right. But you see, when it comes to fat and party and great race weekend and them kind of event, Trinidad is not clean up after themselves. They're going to eat the KFC and drink the beers and drop the thing. Every garbage overflowing, they want to drop it right next to the bin. Wherever.
Right. That makes sense.
You know who just had to clean that after the Trinis leave and they going back on the Caribbean Airlines and the fast ferry? The Tobagonians.
Let me say something.
Yeah, Ronnie, what you say?
Let me tell you something. Who does clean Port of Spain Carnival Tuesday night? Who does clean it?
Trinis.
Not Trinidadians. And Trinidadians is litter in Trinidad. It's not like the specially saving up the litter to come to Tobago to be like, oh, I can be extra dirty in Tobago. They just, some of them just dirty. But let me say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of Tobagonians begin certain rules, right? Oh, Trinis like this and Trinis like that. And let me tell you something.
She is dream chaser.
That tell me the hate when Trinidadians tell them, and you just make better ball and you just make fudge.
God, I hate that.
Right. So then what make you think Trinidadians do hate when Tobagonians say, well, all it is litter and all it running guns and all that. We just hate it too. We just hate it. It's stereotype. All the litter and stereotype.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even look how I make a bad joke.
They just get vexed. So that's what I just say. I just be like, I don't understand. This one-sidedness is like, I can make all the jokes I want to make, but you know, I'm not really disappointed because you know why? You all are big, so they can take it. We small, so we shouldn't have to face it. That is stupidness. If anybody could say anything, then everybody can say everything. Don't take it like...
You know, just on a side note, that is why we don't get no good Benny ball and Benny stick again, and all the shame of all your heritage. Theon, change that, because the quality of the Benny ball dropping bad.
Jewfield Enterprises. Take it on yourselves.
No, but I'm just saying, I really despise the one-sided banter that you would like to engage in. I can engage in banter because I am small and I am the minority. But come on, we have to face it in other ways too. Everybody is a minority in some regard.
But what you saying there, Ronnie? Just now, eh?
Tobagonians do not go to Trinidad. Generally, Tobagonians do not go to Trinidad and leave mess. We will hold rubbish in my pocket till we meet a bit 40 miles down the road.
Not no fat. Don't serve it that dream. Not no fat and Carnival.
Well, the thing is, Uma, there aren't a massive amount, a massive team of Tobago fetters that are known per se. So it's not something that they would be notorious for. And I understand that. But Ronnie's point still stands. It's not like this is, that's the point I'm making. Sometimes, I remember we were having this discussion a while ago, where some Tobagonians make it seem like if some of the bad they get in services is specifically against them, while your health center is not well stocked, but Moruga Health Center is not well stocked either, and the roads not paved in Penal either. It's that there is bad governance all over, and sometimes the bad governance, it's not personal, it's just bad governance. It's just as bad behavior littering people. Because the truth is, it's not like, as she said, it's not like the Trinis save their litter to go to Tobago and drop it. Trinis litter in Trinidad a lot. You walk through most of the cities in Trinidad and they are nasty. So it's not like the littering only happens there. So it's nothing personal in that.
But
Yes,
I didn't finish, but I was
Go ahead.
right? For the last few months, I have observed the streets of Scarborough.
Oh my gosh.
And let me tell you, Tobago they're not far. They're not far.
That's Trinis. You like Trinis in the place, girl.
It's not far at all. In front of the port, where the Chinese, Robert overflowing. Excuse? No.
It's the Trinis. I knew that. I know that.
Who does lime in front there? Who does lime in front of the port selling all the drugs? Who does lime there? Trinidadians?
Who is
Who
responsible?
does lime there?
I just saying it have a coincidence
And listen, and
coming
no,
from the boat and where the
and the
message.
garbage is not rubbish throw, it's bags of garbage.
Or in the villages of Tobago and see if you find that rubbish.
Brother,
Let me tell you, okay. Go from Point,
well, listen,
go Scarborough,
and you admit
and make the comparison.
Scarborough is
Yeah.
terrible.
Who is
Can you
responsible?
admit that the streets of Scarborough is terrible?
If I can admit the streets of Scarborough is terrible, go to Crook.
Yes.
Is the Trinis coming off the port and doing that?
Who is
So Chinese just be
responsible?
taking the garbage on the port that is beyond the boat, bagging on the garbage, throwing it in a garbage bag, coming off the boat and throwing it on the street.
Well, then there's a problem with the garbage pickup. The garbage truck not working.
Let me be honest. Let us all be honest here. I believe that any urban center will have a little bit of trash more than other places.
Yeah.
Oh.
But if we being real, Ronnie, Scarborough could never compare to
That
the
is not
port.
true. Scarborough probably have more homeless people per capita than Port of Spain. At this rate,
Wait. No, just no whole. Really?
how much homeless people in Scarborough? Remember, Port of Spain is a very built-up space. It's a plenty people in Port of Spain, so we're talking per capita here.
You're sure you want to per capita? I'm asking you, sure.
Trinidad, Tobago is 5% of Trinidad. Right?
Question.
Tobago is 5% of Trinidad. So if the homelessness in Tobago is so visible, it begs the question, what is the percentage per capita?
You only probably just see dollar. It's one we have, and if your name is dollar, and you just go around asking for dollar.
What?
You
Why?
see the one.
Why would Tobago have a homelessness problem though?
Tobago does not have a homelessness problem. If people are roaming the streets of Scarborough, what I'm saying here, what I say, if people are roaming the streets of Scarborough, it is because they want to be there. Trust me when I say that. These people have families.
The parents in Trinidad don't want to be there too. It's a homeless shelters for them to go to.
It's not for poverty.
It's a
Tobago have no poverty. A lot of the people that are quote unquote homeless in Tobago, they have families and they have mental issues, which is why they live out of them.
No.
Everybody have family.
No, not everybody. Like, there are drifters. There are drifters who, they have a base, they're drug addicts or mental problems, and they like to beat the road. But they aren't vagrants. A vagrant is the one that living in. I don't mean this as a personal insult to any of the vagrants out there. If you're watching this live, big up yourself, whole big up vagrant, man. But vagrant is the one who resides in the cardboard at the side of the road kind of thing. He has no home to go
See
to.
that in Tobago?
Right in front of Port, one or two man and a woman living in a cardboard box.
A duplex. There's one living right in front of Assembly Legislature as well.
Right in front of Assembly. It's a one living in front of the bank. It's a one living in front of Subway. And these different people, like not even talking about the same person. Right in front of Subway, have a woman who just be begging.
At Tobago, they're Tobagonians.
No.
Are they Tobagonians or Trinis who come across because they feel they like vagrancy better there?
Good question.
No, because here's what I'm thinking.
Port of Spain didn't come from Tobago. Come on, we can't live like that.
No. Here's why I'm thinking that. I am wondering how a country, an island like Tobago, small and close-knit as it is, would have that problem in general. To me, if Tobago has that problem, it's because there's an underlying drug problem that is devastating the country.
But in the streets, drugs is a big thing now. Why you feel the crime rate in Tobago gets so high? Drugs is a problem in Tobago, but nobody Everybody don't want to admit that.
Rudy, I would admit it is a problem.
Crime start to
Listen,
go up
listen.
is because drugs. And we're not talking marijuana again. We're talking about
I
that
see.
snow mountain.
Listen
That's what
to
we
what
talk
I'm
about.
going to say. Listen to what I'm going to say. And I said this before people came to the realization that it's not Trinidadians creating havoc alone in Tobago. Tobago has always been known for having better quality narcotics than Trinidad and Tobago. This is a fact.
Narcotics or weed?
Narcotics. Narcotics. There have been pills in Tobago popping way before it became popular in Trinidad. Way before.
Somebody report it.
No, let me jump in and make a critical statement that I think we just missed. Tobago has so many secluded beaches that it's very easy to get in, drop off, and get out, whether we like it or not. Sometimes when you do a tour of some of these beaches and when you drive into these areas, you could see the potential for it. So the only way that could change is if we take border protection in Tobago a little bit different. Two, as Tobago country too, though. Just now, allow me to finish. As Tobagoans, we need to learn to take personal responsibility for our island, for what happens here, and stop passing the blame. If we continue that, we'll get nowhere. Secondly, I believe that Trinidadians aren't given a fair opportunity to understand what happens in Tobago. So even when your friends come over, Tion, we need to take them into some of these places and allow them to see for themselves what is happening, for them to get a better assessment. Because 15 and 20 minutes on the major newscast in the afternoon does nothing for the island. So for me, I no longer judge Trinidadians for having those kinds of views. I simply see it as an opportunity to give them or to show them exactly what is there, for them to see for themselves and not what the media see. That is my comment for the while.
I could see that. I could see that there is a side of ignorance where Trinis just aren't extremely familiar with that. But to me, a point that nearly always we seem to always bounce upon in the Tobago discussion is Tobagonians seem like they clearly prefer that they have exclusive say over what happens in and around and with Tobago. But Trinis viewing Tobago as part of Trinidad and Tobago think that we should all have a say in how this goes. And here's the problem with that. And this isn't only a Tobago problem. This happens all over the world in different areas. It's a problem happening, for example, in Alaska. So, as a country, as Trinidad and Tobago, it's nice we leave Tobago not overly built up. We don't put any sort of heavy industry and stuff over there. Only light in...
That's at the expense of Tobagonians, by the way.
That's the point I'm making. Only light industry, to leave it untouched and serene and green and unspoilt and beautiful and lovely and okay, grand as an entire country that works in terms of the specialization we want for that area. But as a Tobagonian, what that means is it significantly limits what is available to you. So it's a push and pull that you'll always have. Is it that Tobago should be treated nearly like an autonomous place, so it's fully built up just as good as Trinidad? Or do we allow, as Trinidad and Tobago, a single entity, we allow for specialization? Tobago is meant to be more towards tourism, so we aren't putting any heavy industry there, and we are never going to. Alaska has that problem. They say Alaska is sitting down on some of the most natural resources anywhere in the world, but nearly the entire thing is a protected national park by the United States. So is it that they should lift that protection and allow the residents of Alaska to get some work and not be trapped in the frigid, cold, dark place doing nothing, feeling depressed for their whole lives? Or is it that they allow it that some Americans could save up and once their whole life they could take a trip around Alaska and see this beautiful, amazing, unspoiled wilderness? Which one would you allow?
Yes, I want to throw something into the conversation. I mean, some political blows for this. So I listened to this whole autonomy talks process. I mean, I read the bills in detail. When treated as a bunch of fine people. You know, one of my biggest problems? Throughout this 2013 edition and the current one I just feel, I've never heard of a consultation in Trinidad. I've never heard the Tobago House of Assembly trying to set up a consultation in Trinidad just to hear what you guys think and to have that conversation so you could get a clearer view of it. And I've always wondered why. Is it politically expedient? Even the current administration at the central government, the quote-unquote two Tobago MPs or the committee responsible, Why you didn't hold a consultation in Trinidad? Let's hear what they have to say. Let's see how they think it will affect them so we can all come to conclusion. But when you isolate that conversation to Tobago and Tobagonians with this bossy takeover attitude comes with an approach and automatically say, well, I want to play boss. Well, the boss and say what we got to leave it right there to stall. So I think we need to change Tobagonians, need to change the approach to autonomy. And let's hear what Trinidadians have to say and let us explain how it would impact on both islands and make a unified decision and not see that's Tobago alone.
Well, that's the most likely way you'll get a decision. That makes sense.
But the first thing before we even get to that point, I think a lot of people on both sides have the misconception that autonomy is equal to independence, and that is not the same thing. Tobago would just like more of an opportunity to have a handle on its personal affairs, given that Tobago is one, isolated from Trinidad, and two, culturally different. But see on check history.
But wait, just now, positive. In a country, melting pot, multicultural country, is that something that we should preserve or something that we should see as problematic? The separate culture.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's something we have to work through and figure out how to manage it. But I think it's something to preserve.
To preserve. So, would you say the same if Hindu Indians in Barrackpore decided such?
Yes.
That their culture should be able to be preserved as a separate thing with some autonomy on their own?
I believe that the freedoms and the freedoms and abilities I have should not impede on the next person.
Well, yes. Then you're talking about a free Republican country, yes, but that's not what I'm talking about, and that's not what we're talking about with Tobago there. We're talking about allowing a group of people more self-governing authority based on their separate, unique culture. The thing is, in a multicultural country, by the very nature of it being multicultural, there are multiple separate, unique cultures. So, if you go down that road, how far down that road are you willing to go?
Well, I wish I had an answer for you there, but the fact that the name of the country is Trinidad and Tobago, not Trinidad and the East Indian culture of Barrackpore, I think stands to show why Tobago has to be treated separately to how Barrackpore's people should be treated.
But you do understand. You do understand that those.
Wrong scenario.
You do understand that those things will be argued because a name is something that was chosen. There are places with separate names on the same island. Haiti and Dominican Republic share the same island. So the name cannot be used as a good argument there. I think, and here's the thing, there have been people who argued this, just by the way. There have been people that argued, let's separate Tobago from Trinidad and send them to Grenada because their culture is closer to Grenada. And that man who said that is a racist man. And he's saying that because he likes the demographic change that would happen in Trinidad and Tobago if Tobago goes to Grenada. So these are things that have been argued, and it could plausibly be argued that the unique culture of Indian Hindus in Barrackpore is more separate from the East-West Corridor hub than the unique culture of Tobagonians. And this is the problem, I think, that some people don't see they will bounce up on when they start running down this road. We are part of a multicultural country. Yeah.
Let me ask then, what are the genuine fears or possible negative outcomes of Tobago's increased autonomy?
It's very simple. They will have more say over how the country should be run.
Not
They
the
will have
country, the island.
say.
But
Well,
that
technically no, because it's our Trinidad and Tobago taxpayer money that Tobago will be using to have a greater say.
That Tobago also contributes to, yes.
But here's the problem, Tian, and this is one that I have said many times on the live, so it's familiar to me. Tobago brings in about 200 million. You know what Tobago's budget is per year?
But question, I have heard this argument multiple times as well, right? And let me present a counter argument. How do you make these types of assessments? How do we assess how much Tobago contributes? What's the formula? What is the format used to assess Tobago's contribution to the national pie?
The economic activity in Tobago. I don't have the formula. Those formulas, they work that out. But I don't think that's a difficult thing to do. You think the question I should ask you is, do you think they would be undercounting it? How do you think they would be undercounting it?
This comes back to my point. Tobago is often seen as a captive market from an economic standpoint. So there's a possibility. Let's say I bank with Republic Bank of Canada. Their head office is at Port of Spain. So when they're paying their fees, all the fees or the yearly note pay from one main branch, which makes sense financially. However, my Tobago fees would not be counted as Republic Bank Scarborough Tobago. It will be seen as Republic Bank Trinidad and Tobago based in Independence Square.
So the Tobagonian.
It's not to say I'm not contributing a lot more, but because of how the structure is, you would not disaggregate those figures.
Somehow,
Just to add to what you're saying, right? Just to add to what
Go
you're
ahead.
saying. Just to add to what you're saying. On top of that, if you were to hypothetically strip Trinidad of the natural oil and gas sector, how different are we?
We have
If pigs could fly, then
Just something. What my point is,
but I am telling you why this would be a problem. So the hypothetical doesn't work because the reality is we do have it, and what is going to happen is Tobago will be spending more money out of the national pie than they put into the national pie. And okay, if you say there might be some scruples about the numbers, 200 million to 6 billion attempt isn't a close kind of scruple.
When you use the words per capita, are these calculations done per capita? I'm just
It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter per capita because what we're talking about is money spent overall. So it's not a matter of per capita. And either way, it will be that they will end up with more spent per capita. More spent per capita than Chaguanas, more spent per capita than Couva, more spent per capita than Barrackpore. So, no, I'm calling those on purpose because that's the direction that it will go in. Like people pretend they don't understand this island, and people like to pretend they don't understand our country. Just now, here's the thing: people pretend they don't understand our country. I'm telling you something that someone already said when Tobago proposed that autonomy idea. Let them go and send them to Grenada because they are not. This country is not going to give you more money to govern while you don't put in more. It's not going to happen in how this country functions.
I agree with you fully, but listen to what I'm saying. I believe that Tobago has been, and intentionally so, left less developed than Trinidad and less able to stand on its own 2 feet. Because before Tobago was paired with Trinidad, and after it was previously paired to Grenada, because it was historically, Tobago was once the supermarket of Trinidad and Tobago.
And the region. The crops, the cocoa, the tobacco, the sugar, everything, even in Trinidad, came from Tobago. When we discovered we have oil and gas and all these fineries and these nice things, is when it was like, you know what? Let's no longer invest in Tobago's agriculture. All that rich soil sitting down in Tobago, who cares?
I agree.
Albeit the whole Trinidad and Tobago.
Let me ask a question based on what you just said.
Okay.
Why have Tobago farmers left that sector alone?
Because again, oil comes from Trinidad.
Why has the THA not invested in that sector? THA, who is responsible for the management of Tobago, why have they not invested in that sector?
Let me proffer an answer and then you all could go. Here's the problem. The THA is kind of what you blame Trinidad for. Trinidad may be at fault in terms of the policy came from here. But the THA was the executor of that policy. THA swallowed all of your labor. THA employs everyone in Tobago to use money coming from the national coffers. So
Directly or indirectly.
it's not
70 to 80% of Tobago's workforce is in the THA.
exactly. So the THA isn't run by Trinis. So it's not like Trinis did this to Tobago. And what I'm saying here is, this is the point I made before, the same thing like we were talking about with Alaska. If you look at it as one country, as an entity, those things happen. There are areas in countries. So in Caroni, you could section off a massive part of Caroni and label it a swamp. If you were born in Caroni, there's nothing you could do with that area. It's a swamp because the country decides that those things happen as a country.
So listen,
I
if
have
you
a question
understand
for you,
this, right? If you understand this and you understand that the potential that Tobago has to contribute to the economy is high and has always been high, why would you then want to decrease and lessen Tobago's ability to produce to benefit the
And to export.
Because
and to export?
partially, I don't think it's necessarily like a purposeful decrease. All it was is you give people more free money, and that's what is a result. So it's not like the agricultural industry in Tobago alone suffered from that. The agricultural industry in Trinidad suffered from that. Nobody in Trinidad and Tobago wants to go into agriculture when you could go and apply to the government and get a good public service work and be a clerk one and a typist. And me go and dig. That's what happened. And it's not that, it's a purposeful targeting. Here's the thing. If oil money flooded in and Tobagonians weren't allowed that privilege to get an easy work and good money, that would have been seen as a bias against Tobago. But ironically, if that happened now, Tobago might have been better off for it.
I agree.
Let me just weigh in here. Pleasant good evening to everybody.
Pleasant evening.
I'm taking the time to listen to the argument. And I have to say, Nathan, somewhat, I highly disagree with your information. And I'm saying that as a Tobagonian, actually being in Tobago. And I think what we are failing to realize here is the system that has been invented. So let me go back from step one. We have had what is called the Tobago Act of 1996, Tobago Act of 1966, that says Tobago literally shall preside over 5 sectors for the development of the island. Outside of the fact that Trinidad directly, under Section 4 of that Constitution, where Tobago shall not preside over immigration and national security, where it comes to the appointment of a prime minister and a president. This is the only 2 issues Tobago don't preside over, right? Now you are talking about the avenue of Tobago will have to have a higher measure of spending if it decides to have its own budget. Let me tell you why that argument is very flawed. Geographically, where Tobago is situated at this point in time, when you look at what is called the Tobago maritime borders of Tobago's waters, it literally circulates way over more than what Trinidad, that whole north coast where you see oil and gas is being pumped into, is considered Tobago waters. And the fact of the matter is, Trinidad has known this for years. Let me tell you the problem here that you don't even realize. In the morning, Tobago decides it gets autonomy from Trinidad. Trinidad oil and gas sector is practically dead. Because
Trinidad
Tobago
and Tobago oil and gas sector.
Just now. Tobago directly now controls its own affairs to the oil and gas
that is pumped in their waters. Now the problem here that you are failing to realize.
This Tobago gas talk is some of the most, and I mean this as no insult, but I have to say before you go further, I have had this discussion hours long. It's some of the most delusional talk and lack of understanding of maritime borders and oil and gas industry ever.
Nathan,
What is going to happen in minutes now? What is going to happen
just now,
in
guys.
minutes to be with declares independence?
Just now,
What's
man.
going to happen
Let
to
me
the
ask a
maritime
question
war?
to you, Nathan. Let me ask a question. You said directly that it might be more beneficial for Tobago to keep its affairs with Trinidad. Let me ask a question.
I didn't say that.
How much money directly that is pumped out of Tobago's waters it contributes to the national development of Trinidad?
I can't tell that because I don't know what you're considering Tobago's waters.
Alright, good. So let's do
Listen, Tobago fighting for their flying fish with Barbados. You feel you separate from Trinidad and you going to control oil and gas?
Nathan, just now.
I have a question.
Yeah, Ronnie, you were to go next. Ronnie, you were to go next.
No, but this is for London. Have you done any maritime laws ever? Do you know how the maritime borders are developed? Do you know how
good. Let me take the time to directly bring to you the history of the Constitution.
No, we're not. Okay.
No, just now. You hear what I'm saying to answer your question? Orville London, who was the recent Chief Secretary, who served in Trinidad and Tobago as Chief Secretary presiding over the space for years. There was an argument made by the People's National Movement when they were having issues with Grenada and Barbados, where it concerns the seas of the fishermen, because there was an epidemic of what we consider flying fish in the space of what we call the maritime borders. They would have even went to the avenue of the Privy Council. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll go back and double check it. It was decided by the international, not Trinidad and Tobago, that the maritime borders that considers Tobago waters, not Trinidad, was dictated by to a Privy Council. And this is how directly Barbados would have lost that maritime space with respect to considering that that territory belongs to Barbados.
But
So
that doesn't answer
I'm
my
just
question.
saying.
I'm
No,
asking,
so
do
what I'm
you
saying
know how
is
borders, do you know how the maritime borders are dictated? Like, do you know how they come up with the maritime borders? Do you know how they establish
Literally, I
those?
think by international law, it is supposed to be a certain amount of nautical miles off the shore, and then you consider what is considered international waters. So everything outside of what we consider, if it's 12 nautical miles, 15 nautical miles, you know that it will be considered the border space of a particular country before you reach international waters. If I'm not mistaken, that is how they would have been able to work the metric. There has been a problem in Tobago as well, because there was a previous argument between Trinidad and Tobago as to what is to consider. But what I'm saying is the very last submission is what they would have went in by Orville London, who would have been from the People's National Movement.
Okay, yeah, great. I guess what you're saying. Great. So you know it's a particular amount of miles around surrounding the coast of the island, right? Tobago's waters expand because of Trinidad, because of the attachment to Trinidad. Trinidad and Tobago have bigger maritime borders. If Trinidad and Tobago decide that we bust this link, do you know that Tobago stands very little chance of claiming much of their waters? It's
And-
supposed
Ronnie, I'm sorry to cut you. I'm sorry to cut you on this, but you'll continue on that same trend. You see, even beside the law, some people forget how this actually goes in real life. ICC begging Israel and Gaza to do things, and they ain't doing a thing. These big institutions and nothing really, you know, they're talk shops. Venezuela here, Guyana find oil and was willing to take back a third of Guyana. If it wasn't that Guyana had the US backing them, they were losing that. You think that we're going to split, and as a smaller entity, you're going to command more sway to get more and develop oil and gas in the 21st century when they're aiming away from oil and gas? Go ahead, Ronnie, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that, I did a course on the marine laws and whatever, so that's kind of why I have some information on it. I didn't go far in that, but I do remember doing a few courses in that. So I am aware of the shrinkage that will happen in both Trinidad and Tobago waters, but we are not even far enough from Venezuela to claim our own waters. If Venezuela would like, they could come and rampage, and without a proper defense, because I mean Tobago will even have a proper defense, they will be taken quite easily.
Like,
this Guyana has a proper defense.
Many people see this as too fairylandish. There's a reason very, 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 very few small islands are single island states and they're paired with others. There's a reason.
Let me just add really quickly. I feel like we are all losing the plot.
Yeah.
Back to the main point, what Tobago is interested in is more autonomy over its affairs. Before we even get to that, I would like to say that what we should consider is asking the question, why would Tobagonians want this?
I know.
That's something that people are not asking. And the reason that Tobagonians want this is because the last 30, 40, however many years, Tobago has remained unchanged. While Trinidad has developed leaps and bounds and multiple opportunities, even extending past Trinidad, has been afforded to residents of Trinidad. Whereas simple things that I'd like to get done in Tobago, I am still dependent on having to hop a flight and go into Trinidad to get simple things done. Or if I do a blood test in the hospital at Scarborough, I have to wait a week plus because my sample needs to be sent to Trinidad to be done, to be sent back to Tobago. And these are things that Tobago, as it stands, has no control over. Now, I think there's a little bit of upset because when Trinidadians, or people in general, hear the term autonomy, they automatically go to, they feel like they don't need we, and that's not the case.
But Tian, here's the problem with that, Here's the problem with that,
Better to go independent, because what you are saying is, I want to live in my mother house and make my own rules. You can't do that. Go and live in your own house. So that is why Trinidadians keep saying, go independent. This autonomy bill is a big child living in a mother house wanting to say, I want to come home 2 o'clock in the morning. Go in your own house and come home 2 o'clock in the morning. That is the autonomy. You do not contribute enough money to say that you want to say, Tobago is a ward of Trinidad. Tobago is a child of Trinidad. And they continue to act like children.
A child of Trinidad.
They act, that is literally the legal term for it. It's literally the legal term for it. And apart from that, a lot of the development in Trinidad is private sector. Tobago has no private sector. That is the biggest issue in Tobago. If Tobago would like to see development, they need to allow for private sector to do something. The THA keeps stepping in and stepping on private sector. They continually stifle the private sector in Tobago. I see it every single day. They do nothing to encourage private sector. So if the private sector is stifled, then your money could only go as far as the government gives you. And if the government feels to give you $1, then your money could only go as far as $1 could go. But if you allow private sector to grow, when the private sector says, okay, I want to do XYZ, private sector is able to do XYZ. And you know,
I hear what you're saying, but the two are still not related, Ronnie.
No, but Ronnie, and me and you had this conversation recently. Tobago has potential to earn and to earn a lot of money its own. What a number of the problems comes is if I want to export, I have to send my products to Trinidad to get tested to be approved for export. And you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is give us room to earn more financially. I'm not saying give us the money to earn more financially. Look at us thinking this is for the longest while we can't get export license. If Tobago owns more money, the national Trinidad and Tobago owns more money. So if Tobago, for example, let's say we have Jofit Enterprises exporting. Let's say she's exporting to the UK. That would bring in foreign exchange. Just the same as so we don't just see it, and every time he speaks, I'm telling me I get irritated because he always goes to oil and gas argument.
Yes.
Which makes absolutely
But here's the thing, positive. Part of the reason.
Shooting the entire country in the
Let me see if as a Trini, I could give you all some clearance on this. Part of the problem is there isn't a unified message coming out of Tobago as regards to autonomy. Some people are saying something that sounds very fair to me. When it comes to especially government services, we don't want to have to leave our home and cross waters to go and get government services, everyday services. That sounds very fair to me. That sounds like something that should be solved easily. Grand. Makes sense. Positive talking about trade. That if the case is that for me, I am creating something on the island of Tobago, I have to go quite Trinidad and get things tested and go through all of that. No, make it simpler, make the ease of doing business on the island simpler. That makes sense. But then hidden in that very often, with the autonomy, is where you hear a chief secretary talk about we deserve 6% of the national budget. Because the money is a conversation that always ends up coming in because it's something that is brought up. Because the THA wants a certain budget and the THA gets that budget from central government. So if the discussion is about increasing the THA budget, then people are going to get rightfully upset. But if the discussion is about tweaking the rules to make the island more friendly to the residents that have to live there, then that makes perfect sense to me. But how are we going to see that a big part of the problem in Tobago is the THA using all of their money to pay salaries and swallowing up all of the free labor in Tobago, making it impossible for the private sector to do anything? And the thing that we are going to do moving forward is give the THA more money. What do you think is going to happen? Listen, this man who is the current head of the THA upsets me because he spoke so brilliantly at the beginning. He spoke about this very thing. The THA has too many employees. We cannot do this. All of our budget is tied up in salaries. We need to undo this. Then he came into power and hired more people.
No, I want to drop a bombshell here tonight, right? Go and say, I see, I'm just giving you a lesson, I have an idea. Do you know there was an attempt to downsize a particular department? The following day, the secretary went to office and met a petition on her desk because she wanted him to move from working a couple hours in the morning to working till 4 o'clock in the evening. That secretary met a petition on our desk, a legal document stated if we are forced to work additional hours, this is the action we take and we will down tools. Does that make sense? And this is why I began my contribution this afternoon by saying, as Tobagonians, we have to take personal responsibility for what we do on our island. At times I would go to work when I don't need to and I would help somebody because they are a Tobagonian. Who is it if it's a Trinidad and I say I'm comfortable, now say I can help. Because I never had major problems with Trinidadians. I mean, I've heard some of the ridiculous statements. But at the end of the day, once you treat them good, they will treat you decent. So we as Tobagonians have to take responsibility for Tobago first to the beginning. Two, we need to begin to listen.
Let's talk a little so
If I may ask a question, Nathan, let me ask you a question. Is it that you are saying directly, if we are asking for 6% of the national budget, it literally will be a problem because we are asking for more money to get things done?
Well, here's the problem. I don't believe that the government gets things done with more money. They waste more money with more money. If the THA's problem is they have too many workers, if their problem is they have too many workers and they employ too much staff, giving them more money is not how you solve that. And the problem with that is the incentive structure of the THA is always to employ more people to get more votes. If I give you more money, that's what you're going to do.
But I can answer a question.
So then, just now, guys, just now. Give me a moment. What would you say is the solution to this now? Let me tell you why I've said this. Trinidad and Tobago for 60 years, we have not understood the concept of this thing called fiat currency. More so Tobago, because we have been a laid-back island for years. Part of this major problem is government and the Tobago House of Assembly and the people who go in there to say, we want to form the government. Now, let me tell you directly why Tobago getting the nip in its ass. For years, Trinidad literally has been saying, we're going to increase the minimum wage, $5 to $7. We're going to increase the minimum wage, $9, $7 to $9. And that's how we would have been continuing for years. Tobago didn't catch on to that. And from 1996 to now, which is more than 25 years, we have seen inflation raised in the capacity for the island for more than 2 decades. Now, here I'm saying, you're talking about the national budget that says legally we are required to get a minimum of 4% of the national budget, which Tobago has never received. So if you are saying to Trinidadians and Tobagonians, no, the inflation against the dollar is growing, goods and services is more expensive, and over the period of the taxes that you are collecting, Tobago, from 1996 to 2024, has never considered raising its budget based on the amount of spending. How could you then say directly, if Tobago has to get more money to manage the island, it will only reduce to this? But Trinidad has been receiving budget after budget. They have also put the country in debt after debt, which Tobago, regardless of how it works out, Tobagonians still have to work to pay the same debt that Trinidad puts the both countries in. It can't make sense. Well, here's the problem with that. Tobagonians, in that context, then you all cannot speak about the debt because you all always run a debt budget. Okay, Trinidad has had a couple debt budgets, but all the THA budgets are debt budgets. All of them are in the red.
If I may add to that, Tobago always runs a debt budget, but at the same time, if you are not putting infrastructure in place that allows for Tobago to contribute more to the national budget, then that is your fault.
But here's the problem, Thean. If you get more money and instead of creating the infrastructure, instead of making track for Guti to run, you keep all the Guti inside your hut. Every time you get money, all of your money goes to paying salaries. Then you cannot do anything with infrastructure because you're spending all the money bribing voters and killing your country in the process.
That's a geopolitical problem.
Let me point out something.
If the People's National Movement says we want to control these 2 seats in Tobago, and you have a central government who is saying we're going to do this, once we're back in power there, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And for 20 years, you have never put a policy in place for development, of which if voters said they want to do this and they want to do that, they want to set up an industry here to do this and to do that, it becomes a problem because we have always had the problem whereby we're waiting for this to happen and we're waiting for that to happen. Then of course, it's going to come now that if we ask them for more, it's going to be a problem. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, the central government, who is saying they are in control with Tobago as a government body, should have ensured that if Tobago wants to set up itself for success, you need to be able to work an agenda to ensure that the private sector can be a thriving one. So they have never done it.
But here's the balance in that, Lyndon. Lyndon, here's the difficulty in that. So if I am in control of central government in Trinidad and Tobago now, and I make a stipulation to the THA, you have to shrink your workforce by XYZ. Tobagonians are going to burn it all down. Can you imagine what is going to happen? Positive just said it. Positive just said a secretary attempted to shrink a workforce and ended up with a position with a threat. Can you imagine if a Trini decide to hook on a condition of shrinking workforce in Tobago to the THA money? How is it that central government would create a stipulation to make the THA not attempt to bribe their voters. How can central government do that without getting in and fully controlling what Tobago does with their affairs?
Cannot do that. It cannot do that because this comes back to the autonomy that Tobago wants. And that will be viewed as infringing on the autonomy that the THA has. That is what that will be viewed as.
And I find here's an issue, and I understand that Trinidad has this too. I'm not saying that Trinidad doesn't get a lot of government money and gimme too. I'm not saying no. But many times when some Tobagonians talk about progress, not you, RJ, you're talking about it to me in the right way, facilitation from the government. But some people seem like what they want is they want a government farm and a government processing plant for them to just go and be an employee. No, go and plant some dasheen, figure out a way to process it, and create a product and see if it's marketable. That's all on you. The government doesn't even need to get involved there. The government's job is to move the obstacles out of your way. And here's the problem. They're creating obstacles in the THA by sucking up all of the loose labor inside of Tobago. So if I go to Tobago and I want to create an industry, I want to start a live, I want to start doing a podcast in Tobago, but I need somebody to come and do the grinding work for me. They have a morning walk inside of THA, paying them good, them don't need an next work, them don't care about that. That's probably also why the Benny Ball is suffering too.
Surprised. Nathan, firstly, I agree with you, but I'm actually surprised that this conversation has even gotten as far as it has, at least on the Trinidad side. I've heard a lot of Trinidadians particularly be very upset concerning the request for Tobago to get more money in the budget allocation. Tobagonians asking for an increase of 4 to 6%. That leaves Trinidad with 94%. So I don't understand why this should be that big of an issue.
5% of the population. Tobago makes up 5% of the population. You are aware of that.
Yeah, but
so why should they be getting net? Well, how much is it?
6%.
6%.
6%.
when was the last survey conducted? Was it last the 2011 census? I'm just asking.
I don't know.
The last census data I had access to was 2011, and the population in Tobago was growing twice times the size of the Trinidad population in 2011.
Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know for the aggregation of the disaggregation of them, but Trinidad and Tobago is having a very low birth rate. So I don't know what Tobago is separate from Trinidad with that.
Let's see. There's
A full audit of the THA needs to be conducted
I agree.
as soon as humanly possible.
I agree. I
That's
agree.
the problem we need to have, and let me propose a solution.
I was saying, positively cut more.
Oh God, cause was sorry, right? Sorry.
So what I was saying to Lyndon, he is saying, Trinidad has gotten an increase in budget or whatever, but if it is a percentage, they are continuously getting this 4% from the budget. If Trinidad's budget has increased, then Tobago's budget has increased as well, because it's the same 4%, right? Apart from that, Trinidad also takes on certain costs that the THA will not have. So, for instance, the national security, Trinidad pays that, the TRHAs, that doesn't come out of the THA coffers.
I will come out of THA though.
RHA, the TRHA has their own, which is why they are able to work with. Okay, I can't say that. TRHA has their own.
Yeah,
right?
don't get yourself in any trouble there.
But basically, the central government pays for certain things, even like the project, the certain development projects in Tobago, the central government would pay for it. For instance, that roundabout on Shilvan, central government said that they were going to pay for it, but the THA rushed and paid for it for themselves. How much is it that $10 million that roundabout cost? That was $10 million that they could have put into something for the development of Tobago. Trinidad said they would cover it. But
This is
Tobago
politics.
rush and do it. Why did they rush and do it?
Politics.
Ask yourself.
Aspirations of a small few.
And what I'm saying is politics. So you get some but
Then
here's
they
an
will
X factor
come
I
and
want to do.
complain that they are $10 million short of something. When they got was it 4 million for? It was 4 million. How much the contractor get to do them roads? How much them contractors get?
I want to propose some solution.
That contractor and that Chevron contractor business, I have no comment.
They got it, right? And the development, they got the development amount of money, and they continuously use it for things that they should not be using it for. Things like, and then look at other things. In Tobago, right? Certain grants. I have seen grants in Tobago that I've never seen in Trinidad. Grants galore. And I feel like people in Tobago, they squander these opportunities. They have great opportunities, and they don't use it. So
When you
I
get
don't
presentation,
see
you have to
why
be
I
good.
should feel. Okay, yes, great. I am going for one of the grants.
That's
Best
really come true.
believe.
Just goodie.
Best believe I will be going for one of the grants. And I will use it to benefit the Tobago space, because I work in Tobago. My business is also in Tobago.
So how you
But
get one of them,
I
Granny?
cannot look-
You message me about them grant talk, right?
Yeah, I got message. But
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
but I
we
can't
can
turn up
allow
like
you to
I
do.
and just say that Tobago is doing the best best at whatever with what they have, which is that's a false, because they have much better opportunities than some people in Trinidad. The youth in Trinidad don't even have opportunities like in Tobago. They have, again, per capita so much more. They could get so much more grants, schools, everything. It's
Yeah,
just
schools
cheaper
too.
for
But
them.
a lot of
And
grants
then in
also
Trinidad-
do exist in Trinidad, though, in the same
You can't access.
but they cannot service the amount of people in Trinidad versus Tobago. Almost 90% of people who apply for a grant in Tobago will get it.
Really?
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
No, that's not true, because check out
Okay,
the
Archie.
Most
Okay,
people I
Archie.
know that apply for grant, they get
Okay, Archie.
Let me
Okay,
ask
Archie.
you a question here, right? Let me ask you a question here.
Okay.
Uma trying to ask a question.
Well, concerning the budget,
Hmm.
right? Does the THA pay teachers in Tobago?
No.
Does the THA pay
supposed to be.
They're the payers of the teachers in Tobago?
Does the THA pay police officers and fire officers in Tobago?
No, they do
like
not.
national security, they are no responsibility.
Right, national security.
So that means even though the THA gets an allocation, budgeted money separate from that, the national budget still goes to Tobago.
Yes.
Still end up in the Tobago economy.
Yeah, we're not arguing that.
No, he was talking about the 5%. And I wanted to say something since then as you were talking about that, Thean. You see here, this was the problem I was showing from the very jump with this. Okay, Tobago is getting 5%. So then should the Shogunus Regional Corporation say that then we have a similar population there and we think we can better care for our population, so give us 5% too? Is it that then what we should do is desegregate into a federal system and all of the states get a slice of the pie? Because that
Honestly,
seems to
I
be
think
the
that would work out in
direction.
Trinidad's favor.
What's that?
I strongly think that would work out in Trinidad's favor, because look at how Tobago is managed by the THA in terms of infrastructure, keeping the place clean and just general upkeep, as opposed to the rest of the country.
Bro,
I think that would work out in Trinidad's favor if Shogunus
I've said that.
borrow the different regions have their own heads and allocations made accordingly, so they don't have to wait on the long lunch line of I need $5 please to come and fix me
Facts.
area. If all of that is given up front, Trinidad would develop much faster.
I agree.
Communities would be much happier.
I remember a long time ago I said I would like there to be House of Assemblies in every region. Let there be a Shogunus House of Assembly, Arima House of Assembly, as the THA is. And I agree. I think governance would work better like that. Unfortunately, that's not the system we have. But I do
Central
agree.
Government has way too much power, and it
I agree.
becomes like
I agree.
where's
And
like,
their proposal, to throw that in a bit of news, their proposal for the property tax was that idea that the regional corporations would be getting the property tax directly, so that you would have that more separated power. Here's a problem with that though. Property tax started collecting, and I'm hearing some regional corporations are asking where is their property tax. They haven't gotten it yet. So somebody lying to
We all
me.
know that money is being used to pay back the national debt.
Somebody's lying because somebody said to me in a newspaper article that the money is actually not going to the central coffers. First up, I remember hearing that it was going to the consolidated fund, so the government just taking the money in general, and that's why I was fully against this. But somebody said, no, they changed that, and I read that in the papers. They said, no, they changed that. They're making it so that each corporation could actually collect it and collect it directly. So if that's the case, why are corporations still asking for their money now? Anyway, people, it is 12:16. We have to go. The talk going nice. The Tobago talk always goes nice, eh? And this is why THA runs so much better. Because you could see the Tobagonians care about how the place run, so they pay more attention to what the THA do, while we can't do that because we don't have a HA taking care of our region. We have to go and beg Dr. Rowley himself, a Tobagonian. Trinis have to go and beg a Tobagonian for help.
Yeah, they can't even vote in Tobago, but moving on smartly. I propose, right?
Rowley is only after living on by his history. He hasn't lived here for years, ever since he...
Listen, Dr. Rowley sounds just like positive radiation. Positive. This could be Dr. Rowley on a burner profile, and we will never know the difference.
This is a new year. But yeah, I was proposing, guys, that you're killing me if I remember, because I don't just like to speak about problems. I like to propose solutions. Why not we have a system where the same morning work problem, which I heard both the MPs for Tobago complain about and the Tobagonian assemblymen, the morning work program is not productive. Why not we have a system where you assign some of these same morning workers to some of these farmers and some of these production houses to increase the amount of production? Because we seem to have a problem in meeting the demand and the supply. So why not send them there for a year or 2 years, and once that the business gets to a level where it's okay, a farmer could now say, okay, I would pay the individual, so as the THA don't need to pay me anymore. Because when you look at what CPEP was designed to do and URP was designed to do, these were short-term programs. They became voter banks or voter bases, but they weren't designed to do it. And I've heard politicians on all sides say this, minus cameras, minus TV, minus the pretty things. So I'm like, let's be real, if there is a problem, both political organizations, both the THA and the central government could agree that some of these programs are not productive. I mean, I was in Trinidad at 10 o'clock, I seen green jumpsuits in the road walking, and I was like, but this don't happen home. But about 8 o'clock, you don't see them people here. And then when I try to break that culture, they're telling you all kind of nonsense. I mean, we need a Robinson type of leader going for 4 years, shake the system where it needs to be, and then after 10, 20 years on the road, people can appreciate your decision. That is why I would stay out of politics.
All right. Anybody have any closing statements to make? That sound like RJ closing there. Anybody have any closing statements to make before we dive out?
Big up my Trinidadians. I love all this still. Yeah.
I hear people debate. There's no people talking about Trinidadian, Tobagonian. Listen, when you go to St. Vincent, you go up these islands with the chain islands, you do hear Vincentian saying, but he's a union man, or he's a Beckway.
Yeah, Beckway man.
As somebody who has been to St. Vincent and Beckway, yeah, they do. Just to let you know.
Buddy, as somebody who have family there, my grandmother is a Vincentian, right? I never hear that. Not once.
Me either.
I hear it all the time when I've been in St. Vincent. Oh, he from Union. He don't really live on the mainland. They literally call it mainland and Grenadines.
There's too much disunity, especially in the political talk. There's too much separation by words and word games playing. We need to, if we don't fix them little things, the little autonomy, go reach to our next step, and then our next step, we need to say, you know what, I feel best we get independence.
And I agree with that.
I think the main thing is that Nathan was able to everybody was able to understand the point, or get closer to understanding the point of, I think, what Tobagonians want generally is not independence, but a little bit more control over certain things.
And you say, we don't want it at all.
Well, okay, my closing thing is this. I don't hear Tobago, like, naturally. But
Wow.
I'm just real passionate about certain things, and as a Trini passing person, it is very offensive what happens in Tobago to me. I have often felt like if a lot of what I hear from Tobago is what I hear from like Black Americans, whereby they want special treatment just because they are Tobago. I feel like you all don't understand the plight of people who live very far off of the center of Trinidad, people who don't live in the main part of Trinidad. I know I went to school with a girl who was living quite Mearu, and I was going to school in Sandu and Central, and she was driving from Mearu to Central every day. So people have to make sacrifices in a lot of regards, not just Tobagonians, and I don't think that special provisions need to be made for Tobagonians. I think that people, well, not in all things. I do understand, like obviously, if you want a birth certificate or you want a death certificate, you should be able to get it in Tobago, which I think happens because I've gotten a birth certificate and a death certificate in Tobago. So those things happen here. I think a lot of government services allow for that. But just like how Tobago have to wait a week for their blood results, a person in Grandy Hospital also has to wait that week as well. It's nothing against Tobago. It just is not. We don't have the labs or we don't have the specialists in all hospitals, right? So, and even to that point, they even try harder in Tobago, whereby they will try to get a specialist over to the Tobago hospital probably once a week or every other week, or even if once a month. Excuse me, they will just tell you in Tobago they'll give you in Trinidad they'll give you a referral to go to our next hospital, and you gotta make your way there. You may not have the money to even go to that hospital, but you gotta find yourself there. So it's like a lot is taken for granted when special provision is made. You know, no, everything isn't 100% perfect, but there is leeway, right? There's a lot that happens, and I feel like, as again, somebody who lives here, and I feel the pressures of the hate from Tobago, like is outright hate at this point. It's definitely hate. I hear it, I feel it. It is quite, and it's not just me. My friend group, most of us are from Tobago. No, well, a lot of my friends, we are not from Tobago. We are Trinidadians living here and working here. We are like English people who live here and work here. And a lot of us feel the same weight. We feel the way that the Tobagonians behave toward us. And we just have to kind of come together and create a little circle for ourselves to feel said. And we don't want that, because then you kind of create an environment that is kind of against the Tobago culture. We don't want to be against, we want to be a part of, but we aren't welcomed in the Tobago space, you know. I don't know if you're...
The only thing I disagree with what you're saying is just the, and not to make it last long, the only thing I disagree with what you're saying is that you're saying that Tobago should not have special treatment for certain things, and I get you, I agree with that. The part I don't agree with is your comparison of saying, well, someone from Mayaro has to do X, Y, Z, and if you only have a specialist in Port of Spain alone, why is there only a specialist in Port of Spain?
Because people have to go to school and be specialists. They don't just have specialists. You have to...
Right, I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you, don't tell Tobago to not fight to have certain things. What you need to do is also fight for those things for your area.
Send your children. How much children from Tobago get scholarships and don't return to Tobago?
Oh.
How much children receive THA scholarships and don't return to Tobago?
Oh.
So who fault is that? Who fault is that?
Positive said it, eh? Positive said it as his opening. Tobagonians have to be able to take responsibility for their own actions too. And to a large extent, Tobagonians would be responsible for where Tobago is at. To a large extent. Of course, there are outside factors.
Right, closing comment quickly.
Yeah, positive.
I would always say controversial statements provoke critical conversations. So I know I made a lot of controversial statements. but it's for us to have this conversation going forward. And I think as a people, let's begin to do, what little way we can to grow and to make this place better. So, Ronnie, the Tobagonians are probably giving you a problem. Talk to us, let we love on them. And then by us loving you, you would love them too, right? Have a good afternoon.
Well, bruh, most people are so surprised at who my family is in Tobago. Where they had Nathan gone, they are so surprised, like, that's your family. I have a huge family in Tobago. They are shocked that I actually am from Tobago.
And a prominent family as well, eh? Big shot if you please.
So when they like, that's your family, that's your family. Yes, that's my family, I'm Tobagonian. So stop giving me a hard time, for goodness sake. I'm one of you.
No, they don't see it that way, Ronnie. They don't see it that way. You're not really from
But
there.
I love Tobago.
All right,
I
people.
love Tobago.
That's all I have for now. I love Tobago too. I love Tobago. Tobago is one love. I think all of you is one family. I am Trinbagonian. I know all you probably don't see me like that, but I want a piece of land in Tobago long time. And I feel I had to get a piece of land because I hear grants sharing in Tobago. So I feel like I need to get in that kind of granting vibes. I like a little grant here and there too. Call me General. All right, people. That's all we have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live Show. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again tomorrow for the next show. Until then, people, peace.